Hello and welcome to Morris Park. I'm Clyde Morris. Today I'm doing a little video at the request of one of my viewers, Ms. Barbie T. And she wanted to know how to go about removing normal growth from a crested plant. Now the best way I can think of doing this with, since I've taken care of most of my other crested euphorbias, and I don't really have too many crested cacti to have anything left on them. I've had them cleaned off pretty much. But this one I've kind of let go. And this is my Euphorbia abyssinica crest. You can see all the crested branches down here. But I've let some of it kind of go. And I've got some normal pieces that probably need to come off. Now, when looking at these normal growths, the thing you have to look at and realize is some of these may turn into crests. So you got to kind of watch what you cut. Now, this one here, it grew out kind of normal-like for a while, and then you can see it's cresting. The one below it, same deal. It's a nice long shoot that came out there. So some of these do have the propensity to crest, but then some of them you can just tell that they're pretty well just straight up and look kind of like the normal one. Like that. So probably need to be removed. This is another crested one. So you got to kind of be careful what we're picking here. Now there's one behind here too. At first glance it looks kind of normal, but if you really look at it, you can tell it's going to start cresting. We've got more ribs and kind of odd shaped. So we're going to leave that one. And we're going to concentrate on these little normal ones and see if we can get rid of some of them. Now, some of these are very open like this, and they're probably going to show the scars for a while when you cut them off. And hopefully the cresting will help cover it later. Now, in lacteas, the crested lacteas, you'll see there's a lot of fanned out growth from everywhere. They're a little different. And cuttings I've taken from before, and when I've eliminated the normal growth, well, there's one right there, too. When I've eliminated that normal growth, then the plant has covered up a whole bunch of it. There's other places I've removed it, but you can't really see very well on it. Same here. Most of that's been eliminated. So, a couple shoots here, but I'm not really sure of them yet, so I'm going to kind of leave them. But these will tend to cover up their cuts a little better than some of the others. The reason for cutting off all this normal growth is the fact that the normal growth will actually overtake the plant. The plant will try to normalize itself. And so it'll kind of cut itself back to growing normal growth instead of the crested growth. The crested growth is actually a lot weaker than the normal growth. So what we're wanting to do is take away from this normal growth and push the crested growth instead. And so it'll be more like these are. Well, we're not too far back in the season. You can see this has leaves still. So I'm not really worried about doing this today. But anyway, I've got all my tools here. I've got my Corona clippers. It's my alcohol, and I have some water back here, and I'll show you the reason for the water here in a minute. Anyhow, let's get started on this. Okay, so to begin with here, what we're going to do is spray my clippers down here. Some alcohol on there. You can spray the handles. We'll wipe that off. I've just recently sharpened these, so they should be ready to go. Now, I've got a spray bottle full of water here. And that's going to be to stem the flow of the sap that's going to be coming out. And this thing's going to bleed all over the place. So you want to be able to stem that flow. So anyways, I'm going to start with this biggest one here. set that off. As you can see, this stuff's just dripping all over the place. So what you're wanting to do is take the water. Just gonna get some water going here. Let's see here. And wash all that sap off. What it does, it just kind of dries that up so it isn't bleeding all over the place. Hit it up here. And that'll clean that off. We'll just set this aside. Now these can actually be restarted very easily. They're not hard to restart. Just let them dry out a little bit. And just set them a little ways in some soil, not too deep, maybe about an inch or so down in the soil. And just kind of mist them and just give them a little tiny bit of water. Just show them there's some water. Right now, these things will probably last, if I just let them sit, they'll last a few months just sitting on the shelf. Right now I'm just going to kind of set them aside for a couple weeks, and I'll just kind of set them in some soil, and I won't even water them. And they'll probably just get their own roots. Now I'm going to spray this off again because it's bleeding pretty good. And kind of wash off the clippers a little bit, that sap. Okay. Now let's see here. Now this one behind, we know it's going to be a crest. So we're going to leave that. We're going to go in here in the middle here. Cut this one off. Spray that off. Spray that off. Set that to the side. There we go. Okay. So we got those two down there. And basically that's how you're doing it. On these shorter ones here, I'm going to leave them go for a little while because I can see this one looks a lot different from this one. And well, this one will probably crest for sure. Being that these are shorter right now, I'm going to kind of leave them until I can see what's going on. Now these ones that I've left here, these are both crest. This is a crest still. And this one's questionable. There's one in between here, and I'm not really sure about it yet. But I can usually tell if these things have about 5 or 6 ribs on them, there's probably going to be a crest coming out of that on this one. The ones that have 4 sides on them are just 5. Just kind of watch them until they get really tall like these did. I'll wash that down again. These are going to bleed quite a bit. Luckily, we're pretty warm in here today. About 60 degrees or so right now in the greenhouse. Now, one thing you can do to this too, that I usually do, and it kind of looks ugly for a while, is on your cut surfaces here, put just a little dash of cinnamon on it. There. We'll put a little bit of it here. Alright. That'll help stop some of that bleeding. Also, cinnamon tends to be a good antibacterial and antifungal. And so that'll keep that from getting infected while it's drying. I'm not going to be watering this plant anymore this year. You can see some of the leaves dying back here. These leaves are all going to die out on this plant. And it should heal up pretty nicely. Yeah, during the winter, all these leaves will be gone. But you can see what I mean here. On this one, that's a 4-angled branch. This one, see all the angles to it? They're kind of stuffed in on one side. That's a good chance to crest. And the one in here, I believe it has a chance of cresting too, so I'm going to leave those alone. If you think something's going to have a chance, it looks like the middle of it's starting to elongate at all or get weird. Like that. Leave that alone. Even though it's formed this nice long branch here, kind of leave that alone. This one too. I can tell that's definitely going to be a crest. It's got that weird growth to it. So we're going to leave those alone. But we've eliminated pretty much the normal branches that we want to get rid of. I'm going to wash that off a little bit. Not to wash off the cinnamon. She's still bleeding pretty good. But anyhow, that's basically what you do on these. Anything like this, and you can see on this one over here, Lactea, where I've cut off some of the normal ones. Now, on these outside ones, it may take a long time for that to grow over and be hidden, or you'll just have to kind of put up with the little scars there. It's not too bad. Like I say, it's not real bad. These tend to compact themselves and grow over. And some of the varieties will do it better than others. Now, you see this is a more of an open kind of crest, whereas this one's more compact. Even though they are the exact same species, just different variations. And this one too. Very compact. There's a little tower rising up there. But very compact. And they tend to grow over their little scars and such. In fact, I can't even see where I cut the last branches off this one, I don't think. It has pretty much grown over most any of the scarring where I've cut it. And of course, this one hasn't really been too bad. Now, this is an example of a cactus that's was crested and then went normal again. And this is pretty much what can happen. I kind of like the normal form on this. I really wanted to see it. So I just let it go ahead and grow. I see these roller coaster crests, they call them. It's like an Cylindropuntia or Austra Cylindropuntia vistata crest. They have them pretty frequently. So if I want another crest, I'll get another crest. But I'm just kind of letting this one grow out normal. But normally you would take off all these normal branches, so that this crested part here would continue. But luckily, this is a very common plant, and if I want another crested one, I'll get a crested one. I just like the normal growth on it and decided to let it go. But this is what happens. It will take over the whole plant more or less. And your normal growth will keep on growing, whereas this is going to slow down, and it'll just eliminate that. And all the new growth will be normal growth. So that's the only thing about leaving the normal growth. If you like the normal growth, well, that's fine, but it's going to take over all of this. So just be aware that if you leave all that, that's what's going to happen. Or you can just cut it off like we just did on this one here. You can still see it's bleeding just a little bit still. It's really going for it, but I can take and wash a little bit more of that off. It should stop here after a while. This was actually a real bleeder. I don't usually have them bleed so long like this, but anyhow, that's that one. I did see one of my cactus that has a crest and normal growing on, and I'll show you that here in just a second. This is the Clysteo cactus, Hilda Winteri, and you can see it's got two long normal growths right here. These will have to come off. Now, on this plant here, I won't cut this today and do all this today. But basically, I'll have to go in here, cut them from the base as far down as possible, and then do the same treatment. You won't have to wash them off with water because they're not a euphorbia and they won't bleed like that. The cinnamon is a good thing to put on it because it does act like antibacterial. And let's say it does help dry and heal the plant. But yes, if I were to keep letting this go, all the neat little crested parts would slow down, and it would start getting more and more of this normal growth and just kind of take over the plant. So, like I said, eventually what I'm going to do is I'll just take that and eliminate those two right down there. You can see it won't be too hard. They get pretty narrow right down at the base of these, so it'd be like two real nice cuttings. I'll just snip them off and let them dry, and they'll be great. This has nothing to do with what we're just talking about, but I just noticed this during the summer. We had some mud daubers come in and build a mud nest on my Aluaudia. It's lost its leaves for the winter pretty much. But yeah, pretty cool. These guys get in here and they'll just build a little mud house on just about anything. I found them on cactus and everything else too. Anyhow, yes, this is Clyde Morris from Morris Park. Whoa, can you see it, guys? We're getting snow now. Here comes winter. Anyhow, this is Clyde Morris from Morris Park. Hope you have a great day. Take care.